What if I told you institutionalized racism was the law of the land for the last 70 years in our highest levels of education?
What the fuck?
What would you think? Well, that goes against democracy. Well, it's called affirmative action, kids, and yesterday, Supreme Court killed it. Wait, what's that I hear? It's all the crying. I'm Jazz Berganzo, and this is what's next. Happy Friday, guys. Jazz Berganzo, what's next? Hope you guys are doing well today. Well, as we head into the long weekend, of course, July 4th weekend for those of you who have Monday, because, of course, kind of screws everything up being that 4th of July is on a Tuesday. Anywho, enjoy. Wow. Who knew the last 24 hours were going to be so exciting, to quote one Wesley Snipes. Affirmative action. Legalized institutional racism in our businesses and our education system is officially dead. The Supreme Court came down and dropped the hammer like Thor in Wakanda and said, yeah, you gots to go. And here we go. This comes out of Breitbart. Supreme Court, eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. Amen. The Supreme Court handed out a defining ruling against the use of racial preferences in college admissions, declaring in a 6-3 decision on Thursday, eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. The syllabus opinion in Students for Fair Admissions versus President and Fellows of Harvard College note that any exception to that principle, based on the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, must survive a daunting two-step examination known as strict scrutiny. Unless the discrimination is for a compelling government interest and is, quote, necessary to achieve it, it is unconstitutional. Reviewing the history of precedents and racial preferences, which allow the limited use of affirmative action in college admissions, the syllabus notes that the court has permitted race-based college admissions only within confines of narrow restrictions, such as admission programs, must comply with strict scrutiny, and may never be used as a stereotype regarding race or negative, and must at some point end quote. The policies used by Harvard and University of North Carolina failed the test, the court said. Their weaknesses were exposed when challenged by an advocacy group on behalf of the Asian American students who suffered the most from racial preferences policies. Writing for the majority, Chief Justice Roberts elaborated on the expectation that racial preferences have to end at some point. The importance of an endpoint was not just a matter of repetition. It was the reason the court was willing to dispense temporarily with the Constitution's ubiquitous guarantee of equal protection. 20 years later, no end is in sight. Even with the best of intentions, he said these policies are unlawful. Justice Clarence Thomas wrote a concurring opinion extending the court's reasoning to all forms of affirmative action policy in general. I write separately to offer an originalist defense of the colorblind Constitution, to clarify that all forms of discrimination based on race, including so-called affirmative action, are prohibited under the Constitution, and to emphasize the pernicious effects of all discrimination. All citizens in the U.S., regardless of skin color, are equal before the law. The solution to our nation's racial problems thus cannot come from policies grounded in affirmative action or some other concept of, quote, equity. Racialism simply cannot be undone by different or more racialism. Instead, the solution is incorporated in our Constitution, that we are all equal and we should be treated equally before the law without regards to our race. While acknowledging the past, Thomas concluded, while I am painfully aware of the socio-economic ravages that have befallen my race and all who suffer discrimination, I hold out enduring hope that this country will live up to its principles, so clearly enunciated in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States, that all men are created equal and equal citizens must be treated equally before the law. Wow. Well said. Well said. The dissenting opinions argue that race-based policies are necessary to fix race-based discrimination of the past. Justice Sotomayor, for example, argued that the court has acknowledged in the past that equality can be enforced through race-conscious means in a society that is not, and has never been, colorblind. She argued that a limited use of race in admissions could allow for inequalities to be addressed over time. Limited use of race. Really? 70 years, but it's limited. Okay. In a notable dissent of her own, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who of course we all know her famously for, I can't tell you what a woman is, I don't know the definition of, because I'm not a biologist. President Joe Dementia's, diversity hire, who had recused herself on the part of the case that deals with Harvard, on whose board she served, wrote that, at least she, did something right, wrote that there were universal benefits of considering race in admissions. She added, the race-based gaps that are first developed centuries ago are echoed from the past that still exist today. By all accounts, they still are stark. The let 'em eat cake obliviousness. Today, the majority pulls the ripcord and announces colorblindness for all by legal fiat, Justice Jackson concluded. By deeming race irrelevant in the law does not make it so in life. Yeah, but it helps. Regardless of the policy, racial preferences is now dead. Universities may try to work around the ban, as they have in California, after voters ended affirmative action in Proposition 209, but they did so at their own legal peril. Fact of the matter is, this is something that is way overdue. We're talking 70 years of this. But yet, what have you heard over the last 70 years? We're not racist. Don't base it off of race. Don't base it off of race. Don't base it off of race. No. Are you hiring me because I'm black? Are you hiring me because I'm white, Hispanic, Asian, 6 heads from Mars? That would be so racist of me. But yet, schools were doing it. The highest percentage of admissions in colleges were those who were black. The lowest percentages were those of Asian. Yeah, because that's fair. It's not the Asians' fault that they are the most highly educated on the planet. That's a fact. You go to any country, major country that has Asian population, and their education levels are through the roof because they are dedicated to their craft. They're dedicated to education. Unlike those of us here in America, where we sadly have become fat and lazy when it comes to educating ourselves, but because, the white man's holding me down. It's racism. How dare you? I can't get this job because of racism. But yet, when you're hired because of said racism, that's okay? No. It's a good day. It's a good day that affirmative action is now dead. And now we're going to see how the colleges try to go around it, try to make up their own definitions, because, of course, as we've seen over the last 2 years, definitions don't really mean anything. And with that being said, I'm Jazz Borganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it, hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. And we'll see you next time. Peace.